Good morning. Another day in the shop. Well, it's still dark outside. It's early in the morning, but you know, that's how I sleep. So if you've been watching the videos, then you know we built this cart here for the bass drum for the high school band that my daughter is in, Fox Creek High School, which we have to bring up to the school this next week and drop off for band camp. So the same band they need one more cart. They need a cart. They apparently bought a new mixing board and they need a cart built for it. So what we're gonna do is take this cheap Amazon toolbox, and it's really not that bad of a toolbox. I didn't put the wheels on it when I assembled it because we're not going to use the little wheels that came with it, and we're going to convert that into a mixing board cart. And so I've got some, like most things I do, I got some measurements off of the mixing board, and then I got a general idea of what I'm going to build kind of sketched out. And like most things I build like this, we'll just go from there. I don't try to draw out blueprints beforehand because it just never works out that way. So I came up in the shop yesterday and I built this, which will go around the base of this to give us something other than a thin sheet metal to work with. And then we're going to build some extensions that'll come up here and be welded to the box, and then we'll build the wheels off of here. You'll see. So I'm going to get started on that, and once I get that on there, then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So we got a bunch of metal we ordered, we got some plastic, we got some wheels over here. So we should have everything we need for the project. So let me get the bottom frame part onto the box, get the box sitting in it, and then we can continue from there. So this is what I was talking about. See, we got this frame around the bottom now, and it's all welded in, and then we've got these reinforcement pieces sticking up each corner, and I kind of beveled the edges. And let me tell you, this Chinese toolbox is very not fun to weld to. It is very thin. But see, now on these ends can have our piece come out that's going to have the wheels on it, and then we can have a brace from up here down to the wheels. That's why I did these. So that part's done, and the sun's peeking out now, and since it's the 4th of July and I'm already starting to sweat with this long sleeve welding shirt on, I'm going to call it a day, and we'll get back on this tomorrow. Good morning, y'all. We're continuing with building this cart that's going to be a mixing board cart for the band for the high school where my daughter goes. So today I was going to build the wheeled part of it, but I've got a new chop saw coming that'll cut the 45-degree angles a lot better. My that old abrasive saw over there, the problem with it is it keeps trying to cut off at an angle. It's pretty worn. It's probably cut 1 billion pieces of metal. And so I finally broke down and bought an Evolution cold saw, which should be here either tomorrow or the next day, so we're going to wait to do that part, and we're going to do the electrical part today. So what we've got to have is, I've got this shore plug here that you can plug an electrical cord into for power in, which will be mounted in this area here. And then here, this box will be mounted up with 2 electrical outlets, so 4 outlets on the outside, and then also another outlet on the inside to plug things into, that'll run off of that shore power plug. This is actually it's a shore power plug that's, I think they're made for boats to plug into it, like a houseboat to plug into a generator, but we're going to use it for this. So I made a template, I got it up there. I'm going to drill these holes, cut it out, mount all this stuff, and wire it. So let me get started on that, and once I get it in there, I'll show you what I've done. So we'll be right back. I've got the electrical all finished out now. So we've got, basically this will be input power, and that will supply power to all these outlets and this outlet on the inside. So let's plug it up and give it a smoke test to make sure it doesn't let all the smoke out of it. So this will plug in here like so. No smoke so far. Now we'll test this inside one. Alright, that's working. Let's test the outside outlets. Number 1 working, and number 2 working. Awesome. Alright, so that part's done. That's all ready to go. So next we'll be building the extensions that the wheels will sit on. They will come out here. They'll have a brace coming from up here down to them. They'll be wide enough to keep the cart steady, but narrow enough to fit up the ramp on the U-Haul truck. And then we'll move on from there. So that'll be the next time I turn the camera on, because I gotta wait for my new saw to get here. And when the new saw gets here also, we'll do a tour view of it. So we'll see when we do that. We'll be back. Good morning, y'all. It's another day working on this mixing board cart for the band. And as you saw previously, we got all the electrical built into this thing. Also went ahead and we cut some holes in the back for cords to come through, which these will have this same rubber on them like these do. Cut some holes in here, went ahead and bolted the shelf in, so that's all solid and ready to go. And I went ahead and built this frame here and this one over here to hold the wheels, and I cut these plates that we need to bolt or weld onto them to that will drill for the wheels for the bolts. So we'll go ahead and start welding on that some more, and then we'll hopefully by the end of the day have this thing at least sitting on some wheels. So let's get started. Now normally I would try to do most of that grinding outside, but it's raining again, which is awesome because that means it'll be not only in the high 90s today, but 100% humidity. Lovely. So we got that welded on. It doesn't look great. I don't know what's going on. Sometimes, you know, some days your welds, they'll hold. They're good. They're good and strong. They just aren't the prettiest. So now we're going to go ahead and get this one welded on the same way, and the other two, and then I'll come back and we'll mark the holes and get the holes drilled for the wheels, and then get these things welded on that box, so we'll finally at least look like we're making some progress. So I'll be back once I get these other 3 plates welded on. Alright, so we got these all welded up. That's the rear one, that's the front one. So now the next step is going to be getting these marked and drilled for the casters. So basically all we got to do, and you can see it was raining earlier, now the sun's out, so it's going to be humid. Alright, so we know that end's going towards the toolbox, so we want the casters towards the back end. So we'll stick the caster in here like so, and take our marker to get everything where I can do this. And mark where the bolt holes are going to go. Do the same on the other side here. So once we got our 4 holes marked, I got to go get the center punch. I'll be right back. Okay, so we got our holes marked. And what I like to do for these, and I learned this from the other one, you got a little bit of play in all this. So I take my automatic center punch, and just kind of center it up in that slot and in the center of it. And as long as you're pretty darn close, it'll be enough, because the wheel is centered by this frame there, and there's a little bit of play in the holes. So once you get those punched, then I like to take my regular center punch, and this way you can get you a little better punch, or if one of your holes was a little off, you can aim it over a bit and correct it. Plus, this larger center punch makes a better hole for the drill to catch on. So then we'll lean this over here, clamp it down to the table, so I use a smaller drill bit to drill the first hole, kind of a pilot, it also lets me know I'm centered in the slot there. Then we're going to drill our final holes, which will be drilled with a size W drill bit, which will give us a nice close fit on the 3/8 button head bolts that we'll use to final assemble this and make everything tight. So we got our 4 holes drilled. We can dump this out in the rust pile out there. So we'll take our caster and double check everything, but yep, that will work just fine. Absolutely. And that gives us enough room to spin, so we should be good to go. So we'll do that. I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of these, and then we'll come back and get these things welded onto the cart and get the wheels mounted so it'll be sitting on its wheels. So we'll be back with that. Okay, now that we've got all the holes drilled, I've got this in place where it's going to go on the side of here, and we're going to tack it in place and then cut some braces that'll run here on each side, tack them in place, and then once we get everything tacked up, we'll go ahead and weld it all in place solid. And then I'll flip this thing over, block it up, and do the other side. So let me get that done, and then we'll, once I get everything welded up on there, and we'll come back, put the wheels on, and set it on its wheels for the first time. So we'll be back with that. All right. So now we've got these all welded up, solid. And as you can see, these will put the casters out and up some, lowering the center of gravity, making it even more stable. You can see I welded together another bracket for a pull handle. Got it welded on there. So this end, these stick out a little bit farther than the back end because you need clearance for the caster to be able to rotate. So these are all braced up. So now all I've got left today, because you can see right now, see the sun's out, but it's raining on and off, and it is some kind of humid and hot in here, and I have just about had enough of this long sleeve shirt for welding. So I'm going to clean all this up, which it's not too bad, but I'll clean up any slag and stuff, and I'm going to flip this over on its back and paint the bottom of it so that tomorrow I can put the casters on it. Then I can set the whole thing down on the floor and start working on the enclosure on the top here for the mixing board. So let me get to work cleaning this up, and we'll probably be back tomorrow with starting to make the enclosure for the top of it. Y'all have a good one. Good morning, y'all. It's about 3:30 in the morning. You might be asking, why are we in the shop at 3:30 in the morning? It's because it rained all day on and off yesterday, and it's going to be in the high 90s today, which means probably going to be like a steam sauna. So we're trying to get some work done before it gets too hot to work. So now you can see what we've been working towards with all of this so far. I've got this thing sitting on its wheels finally, and you can see that with the way I did the wheels, the center of gravity is going to be low on this thing, and it's going to be super stable, not going to tip over. And the reason that's important is because the part that we're going to build to go on top of here to house the mixing board is going to stick out on each side. So we don't want this thing to tip over and damage the very expensive board. And I've also got a piece that goes on the inside. It's like an IT rack that they use for audio stuff, to hold stuff. So we got to install that. We got to come up with a plan. I've got a pretty good idea in my head of how I want to do this housing. Still got to build a handle to pull it with, and once we get everything built, then paint it. I got some magnetic latches to hold the doors closed, all that good stuff. So let me get a game plan on what else we're going to do today, and I'll get back with you. Well, the sun has come up. It's about, I don't know, let's see, about 9 o'clock now, and we have begun fabricating up the stuff at the top of this. So this will have a frame around it. The mixing board will sit in here, and the lid will lift up. It'll have a prop rod, or the hinges will disconnect and you can take the lid off. And then in the back it'll have an area here where the cables can come down out of the back of the mixing board where they plug in. This little shelf is for their wireless router, because she can control the mixing board from an iPad. So they got to have a wireless router, so I had to add the shelf to hold the wireless router. So that's where we are now, and I think I may cap it off here for today. I don't know, we'll see. You'll know if I come back and it's another day. I'm fixing to go get a cup of coffee. We'll be back. Good morning, y'all. It is another weekend, Saturday morning. Still kind of, sun's just starting to peek up over the horizon, getting a little light outside. I've been up here for a couple hours now welding, because I'm trying to do stuff when it's not so hot. So you'll remember the last time we had this piece all done that goes on top of that piece, and then this piece that I've started on this morning will go on top of the middle piece there, and this is basically going to be the housing. That's still warm. The housing for the mixing board. So this is just a temporary brace. This is permanent. Once this is all welded in, I'll cut this brace off. It's just tacked in place to keep the spacing, and then there'll be a lid here, hinged here, that opens here to get to the mixing board, and there'll also be a hinged cover on the back here to get to all the wiring. So let me get set up. I got to pull this off of here and put this other piece up here, that piece, so we can weld this piece to it, and it'll be a box then. So let me get that set up. And I apologize for not filming every step of this, but one, it seems like if I make the videos too long, people don't watch them anyways, and two, it's very hard to film and do the work at the same time, and I don't have a cameraman, so there it is. So bear with me, I'll be right back. All right, so now we've got our top half welded onto our bottom half, and you can see this whole thing's starting to take shape now. So our next step is going to be to clean all of these welds up. We're going to cut this brace out, build our lid that's going to go in here, covering this area, and then also build our piece back here that's going to cover the wires. Once we get that all pieced together, then we can paint that whole frame, and then start on the next thing will be putting all these outside panels are going to be this ABS plastic sheeting, black, that I got. Make it a little lighter. So let this thing cool off. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee and we'll continue on. So this is where we are now. This would be the front, and this part here is just sitting on here. It's not welded to it. The clamp here is holding it in place, and it will be hinged back here and will open up, and the mixing board will be inside of there. So now I've got to fit up some hinges back here and a handle for lifting it. Get those figured out, and then we'll move on to making the cover for the back side. So that's a bunch of welding. I think it's almost noon now, so let's see how much more we can get before it gets too hot, and I'll bring you back and show you what else we do. Morning, y'all. It's another day in the shop working on this thing. So yesterday we got this part finished up. That's going to be the lid over the part, and I went ahead and painted the bottom side of that. Put some paint on here in different spots. It's all going to get painted again, but I'm just trying to make sure I don't have any spots that I missed once I get it together. So today we're going to work on the cover for the back side. It'll hinge up, and that'll give you access to where all the cables go. And so we're going to get started on that. We got to get that built so that we can paint all this stuff for the final time, and then once that paint dries in a couple of days, then we can start cladding it in this black plastic. So let's get started with that. I'll cut some pieces and make this, and then I'll show you what it looks like. So, early in the morning, dark outside, only time of day it's cool enough to do all this. So let me get to work, and I'll be back with you. Alright, I have pretty much got all the welding part done. So this is the lid part. These are all painted now, waiting for the paint to dry. And this is the main box that'll go on top of that cart. And these are quick release hinges that go onto that part, so that'll open. And then we've got this is the frame for the cover for the back. And then I knocked out a handle for the pull the cart with, and everything's painted, and now we're waiting for paint to dry. So next weekend we'll finally get to start assembling all the rest of these parts, and hopefully it'll probably be Sunday, because Saturday we've got to go to Atlanta. But hopefully Sunday I'll get all this stuff brought together, get the covers put on all this that'll be made out of this plastic sheet right here, and get it all put together and put on the cart. So we'll see you next weekend on this thing. Good morning, y'all. This is hopefully going to be the last day on this cart. It has been a long time, and all we've got left now is to cut out the plastic to go on the outside of this top box and mount it on the bottom part. Now, I've been coming up here during the week this week and doing a little bit every day after work. I went ahead and drilled and tapped all these holes for the hinges for the back piece over there, and I went ahead and finished this bottom part. So we put rubber around these holes for the wires. We put some magnetic catches on these doors, and then we mounted a IT rack in here, which is the same thing they use for audio stuff, and mounted a strip plug there, plugged into the system. So hopefully this is going to be it. We've got our work cut out for us, but let's get started, and I'm going to get set up to cut some pieces out, and I'll show you putting them on this and putting this together. So I'll be right back with that. Alright, y'all, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I've been going at this thing hard all day, but we are almost there. So the sides are done on this. I got another piece to go in there. It's already cut out and ready to go for the shelf. But these sides are all done. That's done. This back opens up so you'll be able to access the back of the mixing board and plug your wires in. And then this is a hangover. The wires can come out the bottom. Once it's mounted on there, it'll hang over the back. So what we've got left is we've got to get that covered in plastic and then mount it onto the cart. And one other thing, I got to make a prop rod to hold the door, hold this open, and that's it. We'll be done. It has been one long day, but this thing is finally finished. So the handle to pull it with folds up out of the way under there. They have the shelf to put the router on, and they can run the wires in. On the back side, you've got this cover which lifts up so you can access all of the plugs on the back of the mixing board. Plus, you see this space here. That's so that the cables can go either down and out to speakers or into these wireways on the back of the cart. So that part's done. Then you roll it around to the front here, and this lifts up, and the mixing board will be sitting in here. This is removable because these hinges are quick release, so you have options. You can take it all the way off, you can fold it all the way back like that, or you can open the doors here and grab the rod. I gotta put the camera down. Hold on a second. One of these days, I'm gonna figure out how everybody films these without a cameraman, but okay. So you can open this up. You got a hole right here that the end of that goes in, and the bottom just sits in the corner right there. Bam. So now propped open. You can work on the mixing board, whatever. You can see the gap back there where the cables can go through. And then down here the cables can come in. We've got a IT rack here, which IT racks are the same size as audio racks. Another cableway there. Cableways going down to the bottom in each corner, and then strip plug there. So yeah, it's all set. They should be very happy with that, and it's going to end up costing them about $4,000 less than buying a cart that looks a lot like the same thing when I looked at it online. So tomorrow we'll load it on the trailer, take it up to the school, and get the mixing board put in it. And if they'll let me film in the school, I will show you what it looks like with everything in it. So hopefully we'll be back with that. Well, y'all, I delivered the mixing board cart, and I forgot to take the camera with me. But I did get some pictures with my cell phone, so I will add them in right after this, so you can see what the cart looks like, what it with the mixing board and the router mounted on it, and why it was built the way it was built. So those pictures will be coming here right after this segment, and appreciate y'all watching, supporting the channel, and we'll see you in the next video. Y'all have a good one.